So many wonderful things happened today on this date, this era. But one of the things that as Vaishnavas that we are very, very happy for is Lord Ramachandra having killed Ravana on this particular date. So this is the day that the sages who were being tortured by Ravana for almost 60,000 years of his reign were praying for this moment, that they can somehow be uplifted from the tyranny of Ravan. And Lord Ramachandra, who's born in the Ikshvaku dynasty, Ikshvaku, anybody remembers who's Ikshvaku? If you do, you can share in the chat section. So he was born in the Ikshvaku dynasty, and it was forecasted that he would be the one to kill Ravan, and that was why the Lord came to planet Earth. One of the principal reasons why Lord Ram took his birth here, that was fulfilled today. So I'll discuss a few things. I'm not an expert on Ramayana by any means, but my mentor happens to be an expert, so I'm going to just take some of his learnings and share. Some of the end aspects. So first of all, Ravan, so as the 70 days, so there were 70 days of war that was fought between the Vanar Sena, Lord Ramachandra's side, and the Rakshasas on the Sri Lanka side of Ravan. So it was a very different kind of war as opposed to Kurukshetra war. In Bhagavad Gita, we have been learning about Kurukshetra and Mahabharata. So Mahabharata war was fought by the Aryans, the Persians who follow the laws of war, right? For example, at sunrise, they would either Krishna or Bhishma Dev from the other side would blow the conch, and the war would begin at night, sundown. Again, the seniors would blow the conch from each side. War would stop. Night, you could rest. You could even talk to the opposite parties. Go to each other's camps, have dinner together, and next day again fight begins. So the point is, it was very different. It was orderly. It was proper. Whereas in Ramayana, both sides were absolutely nothing to do with law and order. The Rakshasas were absolute, they were, the way the Rakshasas kill is like they eat humans, right? They tear and eat, and that's how they devour their enemy. And the Vanar Sena, the monkeys, they're not very, aristocratic or whatever, following of law and order. So they're monkeys. They just throw things, whatever they can find, so there is no law and order as such. So in Ramayana war, it was actually fought day and night, 70 days non-stop. Of course, people would get into camps, take rest, go out, but overall the war was going on. In fact, when Hanuman, if you know, during the Kurukshetra war, if you see the picture of Arjun and Krishna in the chariot, right? On the flag of the chariot, you see there's Hanuman's picture. So Hanuman was actually present, physically present in the chariot of Arjun. And later on, when Arjun and Hanuman were having a conversation, Arjun was like, whoa, that was such a war. And Hanuman said, that was not a war. The real war was Ramayana, because that was like intense. So it was a very intense 70 days coming to a conclusion today on this day, where Lord Ramachandra and Ravan finally hit it off face to face. Ravan was, up there. Lord Ramachandra was on the ground, and Ravan had all the blessings and all the power and everything on his side. In fact, when he asked for blessings way back, when he was, doing tapasya and whatnot, he asked that he should not be killed by demigods. He should not be killed by, demons. He should not be killed by all the big guys. He never mentioned humans because he never cared about humans could kill him. So the Lord came in human form, right, to kill Ravan. So in this case, Lord Ramachandra in his two-armed form, as in a human form, was facing Ravan, who was on a cloud and having spaceship and gifted by all these big people and whatnot. So Lord Ramachandra is, trying to kill Ravan by, cutting off his head. And Ravana is absolutely unscathed. One after another, the head keeps appearing. As we all know, he has 10 heads. So Lord Ram keeps attacking Ravan's head, and the head is not getting cut off. So Lord Ram, now different scriptures differently describes this. Now what happens is, every day of Brahma, every day of Brahma, there are 1000 yuga cycles, right? So always Lord Ramachandra is coming every day of Brahma. So every time this Leela happens, it is slightly different. The details are slightly different. So you will find in Tulsidas Ramayana it's a little different, Valmiki Ramayana is a little different, Krittivas Ramayana is a little different, because these Ramayans are different yuga cycles. So Lord Ram doesn't come only once, he comes every Treta Yuga. So every Treta Yuga, this is happening. So different place. So in one yuga, it was Vibhishan who told Lord Ramachandra that apparently Ravana's whole energy is in his navel region, so you should hit him there. In another yuga cycle, in Valmiki Ramayana, it is talked about the heart, right? So Lord Ram, as he was trying to kill Ravan, cutting off his head, couldn't do it, and then eventually he invoked the Brahmastra and inflicted on Ravan's heart and killed Ravan. Now let's talk about Brahmastra for a little bit. Astra and Shastra. So Shastra is defined, let me just make sure I'm saying it right. Shastra is the physical weapon, and Astra is the power within the weapon. So I'm sure you've seen Ramayana, both sides, holding the bow and arrow, chanting mantra and invoking certain power within the mantra. So it's just a bow and arrow, but then certain power is invoked within the weapon, so it can do a certain activity, either start a tornado or a water weapon or a fire weapon or an ether weapon, whatnot, right? So Brahmastra is like atom bomb. It's like the most powerful weapon made by Lord Brahma, I believe. And in this case, the Astra was there. So it is described, it was made of gold. The tip was empowered by Agni and Surya, so it was fiery. It had feathers empowered by Vayu, so it was very fast. The shaft was made with ether or space. Ether is subtle. So it's like a shining gold that looks like a venomous snake. So there's a lot of description of the Brahmastra that's given, and Lord Rama recited special mantra to empower it with his own energy. So anyway, it's a deadly weapon. Anybody who uses Brahmastra is a deadly weapon. Like Ashwadhama used Brahmastra to kill the only surviving child of the Pandavas, right? Parikshit Maharaj. But he was protected by Krishna himself. Krishna entered the womb and protected Parikshit Maharaj. So even in Dwapar Yuga, Brahmastra was used. So in this case, Lord Ramachandra is using Brahmastra, but it is even empowered more by Lord Ramachandra's personal potency, where he's putting his own mantra in there. And with that, it's inflicted on Ravan, and Ravan is killed. So it says Ravan just, from that position, he just falls. And the way it's described is he falls like a great man falls from heavenly realm after they're done with their pious credit. What does that mean? That means it is described that just like in our lives, we have karma, good karma, bad karma. That's why we are living good and bad times. But for heavenly realm, there is no bad karma. They only have good karma. It's vacation period. And when your vacation is over, your karma becomes over. You don't die necessarily, but you fall from the heaven. The soul basically, the falls from the heaven, and then there it enters the rain. Through the rain enters the grass. The cow eats the grass, and then it becomes milk, and through the milk it enters the male body of a human, and there it becomes semen, and then it enters later on the womb of a woman and becomes a human again. So that's how a heavenly personality falls down to earth realm and goes through this cycle to take another birth. So it is described that Ravan fell from the cloud like a great personality from heaven falls to planet Earth. And that was the end of Ravan. Now, there is also the Vaishnava Acharyas. They describe certain important aspects to understand here. That Ravan represents lust. Ravan is a personality. Don't get me wrong. It's not like Ramayana's imagination. That's not what I'm saying. Ramayana is real, is history. Having said that, Ravan is embodiment of lust because he tries to drag Sita out. Why? Because he's lusty towards her. Ravan was cursed before that you cannot rape anyone, then you will die immediately, because he raped somebody who cursed Ravan for that, right? So he's always had this woman problem. So he's very lusty. And so lust in Bhagavad Gita is described, the last verse of chapter 3, that lust can be overcome when there's a transformation of the heart, right? So transformation of the heart is important. So Lord Ramachandra tried to kill Ravan by cutting off his head. So intellectually, we cannot overcome lust. To overcome lust, one has to have a transformation of heart. And how does transformation of heart happens? Lower taste is overcome by higher taste. So lower taste of material desires overcome by spiritual desires, higher taste, and thereby one's heart is transformed, and thereby one can overcome the fiery power of lust. Lust is very powerful. It's much more powerful than we are. So this is the only way to overcome it. So that is also a significance here. This it fell down from the ground. Okay, and then Lord Ramachandra, of course, gets on the Pushpaka Viman with all his friends and everybody, and they head towards Ayodhya. So when Lord Ram reaches Ayodhya, we will celebrate Diwali, and we'll have more pastimes of Lord Ram. Till then, I will open up for Q&A, since I promised that today we'll just do question and answers. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask or type. Yes, Matiji, I cannot hear you though. I am not able to hear you for some reason. Matiji.
Can you?
Yes, now I can hear you.
Okay. My question is that you said that. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah. So you said that we whatever in our previous like life, wherever we leave our name of God, like whatever we do the japa and all. So in the next life, we start from there. So why so late? Like I have come to Krishna consciousness at this age. Like why not from the beginning of my life? Like
that's a choice, right? It's not something that Krishna has anything to do with it. So, okay, let's understand this for a second. It's not true for all of us. It's like that, right? For some of us who are starting off this life only. For some of us, it is from past life. Now, the point is, why at this stage of your life? Let's say right now you're in your middle age, and that's what you're asking. So maybe this is the time when it's the right time for you. Again, I don't know. This is Krishna's arrangement that maybe your kids are ready. You're done with your responsibilities. Even it's true for my mother and my aunt. They also say the same thing, that they have come to Krishna consciousness in their middle age. Why now? But then we had this conversation, and it was clear that yeah, this is the right time. If they tried to do it before, when they were in-laws and their parents-in-laws were alive and all of that, they wouldn't have the time to dedicate. But now is the right time with the calm head and experienced life. This is the perfect timing. Like Srila Prabhupada, why couldn't he spread Krishna consciousness when he was in his 20s or 30s? But somehow it didn't happen till he was 70 years old. Then he came to America, and the last 14 years of his life, he was able to do the most of his life in the last 14 years. So Krishna knows the perfect timing, and he makes the right arrangement. But the thing is, Mataji, also understand that throughout your life, you have cultivated that spirit, which allows you right now to absorb this knowledge. So it's not like you're starting now. Now it might be manifesting it, but you started where you left off, and it has been continuing through. It might have been a plateau, and right now it has picked up because of the right timing, and Krishna has found you the right opportunity. Does it answer your question? Okay.
I have another question. Yeah. Can I ask?
Sure, please.
Yeah. The question is, I have been reading the Philosophy Friday WhatsApp group. It is self-love and care about oneself. There are a lot of questions and answers going on there. So one question I've never asked, but I was thinking that I should ask. So reading all this, I thought that I should ask. If I think I'm from that generation where we used to keep others before us. And at that time we have suffered till now, because we have to take care of the other people or our elders with whom our thought processes because of generation gap is not matching, but still we take care. But now the generation is thinking about us and us. So like, I don't know what is right or what is wrong, because if we are thinking about the others and then we suffer because of different thought processes or whatever. But if we think about ourselves, then definitely the other person suffers. So I just wanted a clarity, if you can just understand my question.
Yeah, sure. So it's not the two extremes, right? It's a balance, and it's also intelligence. So for example, it is true that at least as Vaishnavas, our goal is that our life is dedicated for the service of others. And it is how it should be. Having said that, let's say if I go beyond my ability to serve others to a point that I burn out, then I will fall sick and I might not be able to serve anymore. To be ready to serve others, I need to take care of myself, which is also a service to others. I need to sleep in the mode of service. I need to eat in the mode of service, that if I take care of this machine properly, then I can serve a lot more people, and thereby self-love. Thereby I should take care of my health. It shouldn't be stupid when I'm going beyond my ability, burning myself out, showing people, look what a victim I am. No. It has to be like, this is my capability and this is where I should have to draw the line. And if I go beyond this, I cannot do what I'm doing. So I need to take care of myself at this point. I need to confine my services to this level. I need to say no to certain people in a polite way, but I need to say no to certain options. Thereby I can survive and I can help others also grow and thrive in their lives. So that has to be strategically placed. Otherwise one will burn out. And like you said, you end up harming yourself. And when you harm yourself, you cannot help others. Does that answer? No, maybe not. I'm not able to hear you. You're muted.
It depends on different circumstances, actually. I'm not very much satisfied, honestly. But it's okay. I'll just re-listen to this audio again. Maybe I can gather a little more, but at present, I'm not much. There are circumstances which are beyond, because, our psychic and our psychology is like this, that there is somebody we have been serving from last so many years and now we are burned out. But if we do not serve them, then we have a stress.
No, it's not do not. Serve them, but also take care of yourself. Know how much you can serve. And if you need help, get help.
Okay.
Right? It's not serving or serving to the point of burnout. It's serving and knowing, oh my God, I'm reaching my capacity. Like, just to give you my example, there are certain times when I am going without sleep, speaking, doing a lot of business work and whatnot, and I know my body has given up. And soon I'm going to just fall. It has happened 2 days. 2 times it happened where I blacked out and for 7 days, I couldn't do anything. Now I have learned to figure out the red flags of my body. So, and when I see those red flags, I'm like, oh, I'm going to go in that direction. Let me stop everything, take a rest for 6-7 hours. I'll just sleep. Everything off, phone off, everything off. I'll just sleep. I'll wake up. I'll feel like a new person. Then I'll keep going again. 7 hours is not a long time. But the point is, I figured out that I have reached my point of burnout, beyond which it'll be long-term effect and short-term effect. So we should learn what our capacity is. And as we age, accordingly, our capacity also sometimes reduce. Certain capacities grow. Mental capacity might grow, but physical capacity will reduce. So we need to know both and see those red flags, and then accordingly pause and then go. Take a little rest and then go. If you ever go to Vrindavan, we do Govardhan Parikrama, which is 22 kilometers. For a person like me, it would take 6 hours. For a person like my mother, it would probably take like 8-9 hours. And why? Because they'll walk slow, they'll sit down, take something and then go. Some people who can do it physically, they don't drink water, they don't eat anything for 6 hours, they're just running around Govardhan. Not everybody can do that. So we need to know. If somebody without that capacity does it, they'll be hospitalized. So it's important to be intelligent and balance the two, right? Of course, if it's an emergency situation, go right ahead. You cannot do anything. You have to give, even if it means you burn out, that's fine. But not always it's an emergency. And so we need to know self-care. It's not selfish. It is self-survival. If we survive, then we can help others. If we become chronically ill, we cannot help others. So it's important to know our limitations and work accordingly. All right, Harsh. Okay, Deepak. Prabhuji, what happens to Ravan? Does he also go back to Vaikuntha? Ravan is a demon. Demons don't go back to Vaikuntha. They go to the Brahma Jyoti. That's where they become one with the light of God. But in Ravan's case, it's a little different. He was Kalnem in his past life and other things. Honestly, I don't know the answer, but he might be the kind who gets one with Brahma Jyoti, or he can be the one who keeps taking birth again in different pastimes of the Lord. I will have to find out for you, Deepak. Like Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, right? They came, so I think they came as Kumbhakarna and somebody else. Maybe it was Ravan, I don't know. But these two individuals, they keep coming back, you know. So in this case, I don't recall what Ravan was. I'll have to get back to you on that. Sorry. Shaikha Sahu. Sorry.
So I think they are the Dwarapalakas in Vaikuntha as Jaya
Correct.
and Vijaya.
Correct.
And they had, I think it was the Manasaputras who came in and they cursed them.
That's to be all okay. But as demons, so they're Dwarapalaka and Vaikuntha, but as demons, I'm trying to remember if Ravan was one of the incarnates of Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha. Because Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha got cursed to take 3 births as demon. Right?
I think it was Hiranyakashipu, Hiranyaksha, then Ravan and Kumbhakarna, and the other one was in Dwapar Yuga, Kamsa and the other person.
I'm not too sure about that. That's why I'm cautioning myself from speaking, because if I'm not sure, I will not say something that might be misleading. Okay, Saikar, Shishupal is one of them for sure. I don't know the other one, if Kamsa or somebody else. Saikar, when we follow the Bhakti Yoga, sometimes we have a tendency that we think that my spiritual path is right, other spiritual path is wrong. Just see the example of Bangladesh. How do we overcome this negative tendency and respect other spiritual path? Because I do not follow the spiritual path, how do I know the truth behind the spiritual path? I think I understand what you're asking. Let me try to be as careful as possible answering that question. So I think what you're asking is, how do we know that our path is the right path and everybody else the wrong path and whatnot? So it's not right or wrong. I have studied Islamic thoughts. I have studied Christianity, and my upbringing was in a Christian missionary school, so I have studied both. And I will not say they're wrong paths. They are paths that are less complete than the Vedic path, right? And I have spoken to luminaries in other religions, and during debates, it's very clear that Bhagavad Gita includes all of those ideas and more. And that's why, because you have to understand the geographical importance of those religions. The Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they were happening in deserts where most people are tribals, right? In Islam, it had to be said, thou shalt not have sex with your mother. Thou shalt not do this and do that. Who has to be told these things? Absolutely uncivilized people, right? So Jesus or Muhammad were dealing with uncivilized people. Muhammad had to say 4 wives. He was unpopular for saying 4 wives. Why? Because at that time they were marrying anyone and everyone, as long as you're a woman, including a mother, right? So Muhammad said, hey, you can marry this kind of people. You cannot marry, you can only marry 4, because at that time it was 40, 50, there was no limit. Even today, you see all these rulers and whatnot. So, they were trying their best to give some kind of support to that existing audience. In the Vedic system, whereas it was very different, because we are cultured people, we are educated people. So it is possible to go deeper into intellectual pursuits, talk about space science, talk about biological science, talk about economics, politics, talk about earth, weaponry, all kinds of very sophisticated things could be talked about in this culture because of the overall intellectual level and the education level of the Vedic civilization. Whereas when you're dealing with those who are a little less than that on the tribal platform, like Ravana's, their whole thing, the Lanka, they had a lot of money, they had a lot of gold, but they didn't have culture, right? So accordingly, these religions, depending on the geographical location and the people they were catering to, have given their truths. And there is truth, there's more truth, and there is most truth, right? Just like there's Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. All of them are right, correct, but it's just more complete. So Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam gives a more complete picture. I have always appreciated Jesus Christ. Coming to Krishna consciousness, I could appreciate Jesus' teachings even more, understanding where he was coming from and how deep his statements were, which I otherwise couldn't understand. So the important part is not I am right, they're wrong. It's actually appreciation for the right that they have. And the things that we disagree on, why focus on it? What's the purpose of focusing on the disagreements? As people born in Kali Yuga, where most people are atheistic, if somebody has faith and moving towards God, we should encourage them. There is a lady who used to cut my hair in Chicago. She was from Pakistan, Muslim. And every time we met, I would inspire her to go to the Kaaba because that was her dream. She was saving up money to go to Hajj, right? And every time I met, I would inspire her in her faith, in her relationship with Allah, right? And she would inspire me in my faith. Like, wow, you're so spiritual, you're so young, you should do what you're doing more. She never said you should become Muslim, and I never told her you should become Hindu, right? But we had, both being people of faith, we had appreciation for God consciousness, and we all both inspired each other in our faiths. That's a healthy relationship. When it becomes my daddy versus your daddy, that's wrong. That's coming from less knowledge. That's coming from incomplete understanding of things. Because, hey, we are not this body anyway. We are spirit, soul, part and parcel of God, who is one. There's no two gods. There are no infinite gods. There's only one God. We call them Allah or Jagannath or Krishna or Ram or anything else. There's only one God. So when we understand that, then at least us, I'm not saying others have to understand, but at least those who are students of Bhagavad Gita, we should understand that there is no difference between Krishna and Allah or Buddha, or, of course, Buddha is different. But point is, Jehovah, Krishna, Allah, or whatever names of God that's out there, referring to the same person, we have more information. Prabhupada said, we know who God is, how he looks, who are his girlfriends, who are his parents, where he lives, what he wears, what are his pastimes, what are his hobbies. We know a lot more details about God. If you ask a person of another religion, they might say God is energy, or God is this old man with a beard who's saying you're going to hell, you're going to heaven. They might have very limited concepts of God, but we have more complete understanding of God. So we should be grateful, not prideful, right? We should be grateful that we have this inheritance, and we should inspire others to know about this and to be more in whatever where they are. If they're from other religion, sure, become a better Christian, become a better Muslim, become a better Buddhist, become a better Baha'i, become a better Parsi, whatever you are, wherever you are. Lord Chaitanya said, Sthane sthita shutigatam tanuman manobhit. So you do not have to change anything. Wherever you are, just add Krishna in the picture. Just add love of God in the picture. That's it, right? So whatever is happening in Bangladesh or Pakistan, where there's religious, and India, where there's religious wars and temples are pulled down, and things like that are happening, there's nothing we can do from our side. Having said that, we can be examples and we can influence enough lives in our lifetimes that this doesn't happen in our area of influence. That's what we can do. But we are not big enough to influence other countries or whatnot, right? I hope that answers your question, Shekhar. Long answer to a short question, but I felt I should elaborate on this topic because it can be misunderstood very easily. Pinky is asking, is Hanuman still alive? Prabhuji just mentioned here that Hanuman was present during Kurukshetra war also. Yes, Hanuman is supposed to be Amar. He's always, whenever there's Ram Katha, it is said Hanuman is not too far away, right? He is in the audience or he's somewhere else. So Hanuman is still there. Harshvardhan Lal, Adnan Shishupal, Deepak. Prabhuji, can you please tell me something about Madhvacharya? Okay. So we are in the Guru Shishya Parampara of Brahma Madhava Gaurya Sampradaya. So that Madhava part is Madhvacharya. So I don't know much. I'll just say what a little bit I know. So Madhvacharya was a very empowered acharya in South India, I think in Karnataka, if I remember correctly. And he was so empowered that he came after Shankaracharya and he established Dvaita philosophy. So Shankaracharya had established Advaita philosophy, which means you're God, I'm God, we're all God, right? So the oneness between God and us. And Madhvacharya established Dvaita philosophy, that God and us are distinct. We are different. We can never become God. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established Achintya Bheda Abheda Tattva, which means we are simultaneously one with God and we are simultaneously different from God. We are one in quality, different in quantity. Satchid Ananda, God is also Satchid Ananda, we are also Satchid Ananda. God is infinitely Satchid Ananda, we are infinitesimally Satchid Ananda. That's the difference. So the quality is very similar. We are God-like in nature, but our capacity is very small compared to what Krishna can do. So a spark of fire versus the fire, the blazing fire. So we are a spark of fire. So Madhvacharya established the Dvaita philosophy, that we are distinct from God. Madhvacharya is also, he created purports to Bhagavad Gita. So initially there were all the Sanskrits that has always been there since Vyasadeva. But Madhvacharya also did the translation and purport, and like Prabhupada did, he also did at his time. And it is said, now there's no proof of it, but it is said that Madhvacharya personally went and got it approved by Vyasadeva, that whatever his understandings are, they're accurate. So there's a lot of wonderful pastimes of Madhvacharya, how he established the Vaishnava principles and his preaching and his dedication to his guru. And it's just amazing. All the wonderful temples that you see today in southern India, a lot of them have been established by Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, great personalities. I know very little, so I'm just limiting myself, but he's one of the founder acharyas, you can say, in our disciplic succession around 2000 years ago. And we are grateful to him for giving us what we have today. So if you read Srila Prabhupada's purports and you read Madhvacharya's purports, it's not very different, except he's more stricter and he uses more harsh, stronger language, I should say. One of my mentees in Chicago, he's from Karnataka and from the Madhva line. And reading Prabhupada's words in the purports, where Prabhupada speaks very heavily about Mayavadis and impersonalists, he was like, wow, that's heavy. And then when he went to visit Karnataka, his hometown, and he read Madhvacharya's writings, he was like, oh, Madhvacharya is even more heavy. He calls it like snake poison and words like that. So yeah, but the point is, it's very, very similar. That's how you know the disciplic succession is intact, that what somebody said 2000 years ago, what Krishna spoke 5000 years ago, and what Srila Prabhupada spoke 50 years ago, they're all the same essence, same meaning, nothing changed, right? That's how the disciplic succession is encoded and preserved for our generation. Harshvardhan. how to see Ramayana from dharma perspective. It is said that Mahabharata was a war of dharma, but it is not said about fight of Rama and Ramayana. When the Supreme Personality of Godhead is involved, whatever he does is dharma, because he's the lawmaker, right? Dharman to sakshat Bhagavad pranita. So dharma is given by Bhagavad, given by God. So when Lord Ramachandra, he is Maryada Purushottam, he is the embodiment of all dharmic principles. So anything you see in Ramayana that is happening is absolutely dharmic. Lord Ramachandra's every activity, right, that he does is dharmic. Even to the point when Vibhishan came and surrendered in front of Lord Ramachandra and said, I am Ravana's brother, and I've come to surrender in front of you. I want to be in your team. Everybody else said, it could be a spy of Ravan, don't trust him, he could be doing blah, blah, blah. Lord Ramachandra said, he surrendered in front of me. I am a Kshatriya. Whoever surrenders, it's my duty to protect them. So no matter what, and he first asked Hanuman, he said, Hanuman, what do you think? Hanuman said, he seems genuine. And Lord Ram said, so you are accepted. My life, I'll protect you with everything I have. And he also made a declaration that whoever surrenders to me, it becomes my duty to protect them from every harm, right? So that's Lord Ram. So we should today pray to Lord Ram. I'm surrendered unto you. Please protect me, Lord Ram. Point is that he is an embodiment of dharma in every activity, everything he does, every promise he keeps. Even with Sita Devi, even though the whole war is being fought because of Sita, his love for Sita, right? He could have just been another king who marries another woman, thousands of other women. Anybody would have married Lord Ram. But for one wife, he did so much. Now, when Sita did come out after Ravan's death, Sita Devi was brought in front of Lord Ram. She came. Lord Ram didn't look at her, right? And I think I shared this with you also before. Why? Because when Sita Devi was being abducted, before being abducted, that Marichi, that demon came, and Lord Ramchandra went to get the golden deer for Sita. At that time, Marichi died and said, in Ram's voice, he said, save me, Lakshman, right? And Sita Devi told Lakshman, you should go save your brother. And Lakshman said, my brother doesn't need help. That's not my brother. He doesn't need my help. He's fine. I'm here to protect you. And that's the order. But at that time, Sita Devi said some very terrible things to Lakshman. He said, oh, you've been waiting for this chance, haven't you? That when your brother won't be there, you'll be able to, and all of that. And it hurt Lakshman very much. And at that time, hearing those hurtful words, he went to see Lord Ram. So Lord Ram remembered that. And even though he worked so hard to see Sita Devi, who he is dying for, he didn't look at Sita Devi. And everybody is like, what's happening? The whole war is over. The whole point was to meet Sita and Ram together, but they're not looking at each other. What's going on? Sita Devi realized that. She came in front of Lord Ram. She told Lakshman, I shouldn't have spoken to you those words. I think that was a big mistake. I'm so sorry. And then Sita Devi and Ramchandra, they embraced and what I think they embraced, or maybe not. Publicly, again, another thing about Lord Ram, he doesn't show public affection. Like Krishna does publicly things. Lord Ramachandra is very rare that he'll show public display of affection. So every angle you see Lord Ram, he's perfect. He's dharma personified. So how do you see Ramayana? You see it as dharmic as it gets. And I'm waiting for people to ask me about some tough questions, which I don't know if I can answer, but anyway, let's see. It's that Rama, okay. Was the fight Ravan was fought for dharma. How to see contradiction? Ram was fighting for his wife. Isn't protecting a wife dharmic? What are you saying? How was it not dharmic? A man protects his wife. That's the vows you take during a wedding.
But then he left actually. But then he left her also. Like it was like so.
So that's a different question. In this case, you're saying the war of Ramayana, that is adharmic, you're saying, because he's protecting is for his wife. No, he's supposed to protect his wife. But later on, something else also happened. Yes, and we'll talk about that shortly. So if you ask that question, I'll answer that question, but that's not what you asked.
Same question I have, Prabhuji. I'm having this continuously in my mind, that why he left Sita.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see if there are some easy questions before that, because this is a tough one. Okay, Deepak. Prabhupada once said, if your religion teaches you how to develop love for God, then that's first class. That's right. Can you glimpse some of the life of Jamvan? No, sorry. I don't know much about it. Okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room. So, first of all, Ram and Sita, the love between them. There is no doubt that there is intense love for Sita Devi has for Lord Ram and Lord Ram has for Sita Devi. Let's get that cleared first. That's stage one. Stage two, Ram does everything to bring back Sita Devi. So there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of hard work, there's a lot of sacrifice that he does. Again, proves, and Sita Devi doesn't come with Hanuman. She could have taken the easy route. She said, no, I want my husband to come and take me, right? So both of them have love for each other. Now, they both come back to Ayodhya, and there is, Lord Ram is now ruling, everything is good, things are supposed to be nice. Now, Lord Ram starts hearing his citizens are speaking badly about Sita Devi. But the nature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whether it's Rama or Krishna, is that Krishna can take abuse for himself. He doesn't mind it. If somebody says bad things about the Supreme Lord, he does not take offense so easily. But if they say something about his beloved or his loved devotees, especially his wife, he cannot tolerate that. So when he heard that Sita Devi's character was being maligned, that means for thousands and thousands of years in history, Sita Devi would be known as some kind of a woman that was being mentioned. Lord Ram decided to put an end to that. So that there is conclusive evidence of the purity of Sita and that she can be glorified. And that's why the fire, putting her through the fire. Now there's a backstory also. There is the Chaya Sita and the real Sita aspect also you have to understand. Now, Sita Devi is none other than Lakshmi Devi or Radharani, who cannot be touched by matter or materialistic people, right? So the Sita that was abducted by Ravan, now you have to understand this is Leela, this is pastime. So Leela has a lot of elements into it. It's like a drama that's happening, but a drama where all the characters are thinking this is real and this is true, right? So understand the real Sita was not touched by Ravan. Ravan abducted Chaya Sita or illusory Sita. That means Durga Devi, just like she is the reflection or the illusory reflection of Radharani or Lakshmi Devi. So similarly, the Sita, the internal potency, Alladini Shakti of the Lord, and there is Chaya Sita, which is the illusory Shakti of the Lord. So Sita, illusory, was abducted by Ravan. This fire walking through process is where Chaya Sita left and real Sita came out from the other side. And then there were other things. Now the point is, there is different kinds of love that the Lord experiences. Now, I will not talk about this in public, but this is a group that is dedicated to understanding Krishna consciousness. So I'm sharing this. If you see Krishna's love for the wives in Dwarka versus Krishna's love for the gopis and Radharani in Vrindavan, which one is higher? Can anybody tell me?
I think Vrindavan, like for the gopis and the gopis.
Right. For the gopis, it's higher. Why? Because there is a certain form of love called Vipralambha Bhav, which means love in separation. In separation, love intensifies, right? So when you're in love before marriage, there's a lot of intensity to see the person, to talk to the person, a glimpse of that person. You chupe, people try to meet each other. After marriage, it becomes ghasa pita, same thing every day. It's no more fresh, right? So where does that come from? The root is in this science, where actually the highest love is love outside marriage. Whereas in material world, that is considered a really bad thing, and it is a bad thing. But as we know, everything spiritual world, the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. In Bhagavad Gita, you will read it in chapter 15, where it's the inverted banyan tree. So there's a banyan tree, there is a water body. What you see in the water body is a reflection of the banyan tree. It's called the inverted banyan tree. So reality is spiritual reality, but material world is a reflection of the spiritual reality. So what is the highest thing there is the lowest thing here. Like sex desire that we have here is a very basic animalistic nature that all animals, all human beings have. But in the spiritual world, it's called Adi Rasa. It's the highest thing, and it's not sex as we know it. It's different. The love between souls versus the love between bodies, right? Which deteriorates over time. But that is spiritual love. Now, not getting into too much details and confusing you, but coming to the point that Viprinlamba Bhav is the highest form of love, where it's love and separation. And in a Leela, there are two aspects. The one that is for public knowledge and the one that is for the Lord's own internal enjoyment. So when Sita Devi, of course, there were circumstances and whatnot. So their external reason is, here is Lord Ram creating an example what a politician or a diplomat or a leader should be, that they're willing to sacrifice their own family for upholding principles for the citizens, right? Today, any politician would do that. If they're some kind of ghapla in the family, they'll be like calling and making sure the family doesn't get in trouble, right? And the family members will be like, "Pata hai mera dad kaun hai?" Right? That's the politicians we know today. But Lord Ramachandra externally was setting an example that he's willing to sacrifice his most beloved Sita Devi and his children for holding the position of a king, which is beyond just personal level. Internally, though, Lord Ramachandra had a golden deity of Sita. As he was ruling for the next 11,000 years, he had Sita Devi next to him in the form of a deity, where he would miss her every single day. He didn't marry any woman. He didn't have any relationship with any other woman, because he was only dedicated to Sita Devi. And that is a Vipralamba Bhav, happiness or love in the mood of separation, like Lord Krishna also did. For 100 years, every night Krishna's pillow would be wet with tears. He would wake up in the morning, his wives would find Krishna's pillow is wet with tears. Why does Krishna cry? Krishna would not tell them, but Krishna's mother told them, "Oh, Krishna misses Vrindavan. He misses his girlfriends. He misses Radharani." 100 years they didn't meet. At the end, Krishna came to Vrindavan. And that's Rath Yatra, by the way, right? Where Krishna comes and Krishna spends time with Radharani is about to leave her body. Actually, Radharani's husband is crying at Radharani's feet. "Oh my God, I did so much trouble to you. I called you so many names, and you left your body." And as that was happening, Krishna entered. And just by the smell of Krishna's garland, Radharani woke up, right? Because she couldn't take it anymore. 100 years had passed. And then, of course, Radha and Krishna both went back to the spiritual world. Now, in that Leela also, there is a material aspect, right? What is the material story? People say there was a bard or a hunter who hit an arrow. His legs were dangling. The arrow hit Krishna's leg and Krishna fell and he died. That's the external story for atheists and materialists. So they can say, "Oh, Krishna was just another human being. He was not God. Look at him. He fell with the arrow." Now, the same Krishna, so many arrows, so many things, so many wars, nothing happened, right? But one arrow from a hunter and Krishna's dead. So Krishna fulfills the faith of those who don't believe in him, and he fulfills the faith for those who believe in him, right? So every Leela has two aspects: outsiders and us devotees. So for the outsiders, Krishna left in that form. For the us devotees, Krishna left 3 times. Once in Vrindavan as Govinda Krishna, right? He left with Radharani and all the gopis and everything. They rised above, went back to Godhead. In Mathura, Krishna left in another form. And in Dwarka, Krishna left in another form. So like that, in Lord Ramachandra's pastime also, there are external and internal stories. The external story is setting an example as a politician, what a leader should be. Sometimes you might have to do self-sacrifice to uphold the trust of the citizens and uphold principles. So citizens can become model citizens. They can be like, this is the principle, this is what a leader does. So we have to live up to that standard. And in the internal part is, there is actually a lot of happiness or a lot of love in separation that Sita and Lord Ram had been enjoying, being separate from each other, and then eventually united when they go back to the spiritual world. If it doesn't make sense, I don't blame you. But as you grow in spiritual life and you understand God more, his God nature will be more clear to you, and you will understand it. Does it help, Vibhuti Mataji?
Lot of clarity. Thank you so much. Perfectly clear.
All right, sounds good.
So may I like ask a question?
Yes, please go ahead.
It's just a confusion that we were talking about Shankaracharya. So what I have heard about him, that he in past times, like we Hindus are separated in two groups, like one follow to Shankar or like Shiva, and one group is following Krishna. So Shankaracharya, who was actually a follower of Shiva, he come to know that if we are doing like this, so we will divide it into two groups. He like convince the people that the Shankara and Krishna, that Shiva and Krishna both are same. Like the God is one, but there are some what we can say, like Swarupa or maybe.
Amit, I have no idea what you're asking. What's your question?
So I want some clarity on this. Like, is it a true, or who is Shankaracharya?
So Shankaracharya is Lord
he-
Shiva himself,
Okay.
and his role was very special. So at that time, so let's talk about Kali Yuga, how it started. Right after Krishna left, Kali Yuga started, right? That was 5,100 and something years ago. And slowly, the Brahminical culture, go Brahmana Devaya, go Brahmana Hitacha. Brahmanas are they're the heads of society, and they lead society, but Brahmanas got corrupt. And animals were being sacrificed. Son of a Brahmana would become a Brahmana. This whole thing happened where, if you're born in a Brahmin family, you'll become a Brahmana. All of these things, they were using Vedas to their advantage and harming society. So Buddha came, right? Shaktivish avatar of the Lord. Buddha rejected Vedas, established non-violence, first of all. Stop killing animals, right? Non-violence. He established other Vedic principles, but rejected Vedas as such. It spread massively under Ashoka. And then Shankaracharya came. Think about it as a ship that's turning. A ship cannot turn like a cycle. Cycle can do a U-turn very quickly. A ship takes a lot of circumference to turn, right? So there's a slow movement that's happening. So Brahminical culture, first of all, rejected by Buddha. Then Shankaracharya comes and he establishes the Vedas. But Buddhism is the atheistic philosophy. You come from nothing, you go into nothing. That means there is no God. So Shankaracharya established there is God. But if he had established personal aspect of God, people wouldn't be able to take it. Because from atheism, the next step is impersonalism. Or in this case, Mayavada philosophy. But the same Shankaracharya, who's Lord Shiva, is saying Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam Muramate. And he writes intensely about Lord Krishna. And he, even like I said, he's established the place where Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita. If you can go to Kharagpur today, you will see it. Right? So he's clear in his concepts. But for the masses, his goal was to establish the Vedas and establish at least belief in the Vedic system. Once that happened, Madhvacharya came. Dvaitavad, the God and us are separate. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave the full picture that everybody is giving truth to certain degree, and the complete truth was given by Lord Chaitanya, Achinta Bheda Bhed Tattva. That we are one with God in quality, is separate from God. So this is a process. And in this, there has been amazing acharyas who have been. Now, Hinduism doesn't have only two aspects, Shaktas and Shivites, or Vaishnavas and Shivites. There's also Shaktas. There are actually 6 philosophies within so-called Hinduism. It's not Hinduism, right? It's the word Hindu is given by the Muslims. So it is actually Sanatan Dharma. This part of Bharatvarsha has 6 philosophies, including atheistic philosophy. Atheism is part of it, right? So I don't have time today to get into all the details, neither expertise. But the point is, understand what you have received is a truth that's fuller And the other things that have been in the past have been truth, but a little less details. So HD TV has more details. A normal TV back in the days would be a little hazy, right? So high density, high definition gives you more clarity. So understand that. Thanks to Lord Chaitanya, we have more clarity of the truths that have been given in finer details. I will have to, go ahead.
So means we are the luckiest ones. So
We are fortunate.
Yeah.
We are fortunate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. And also, as we take Lord Chaitanya's teachings and imbibe within us, more details will come, because Krishna is there in the heart, and he will actually decipher more and more of these spiritual secrets within us. That will give us even more clarity, crystal clear clarity, as we go through our spiritual journey. Quick question from Radha Shaikat is saying, Radha Gopinath, Radha Rash Bihari, what's the meaning? So in ISKCON temple, every ISKCON temple has Radha Krishna deities, and Srila Prabhupada named each deity of Krishna depending on the mood of the space, depending on the mood of the deity. So in Bombay, there are two temples. The Juhu temple, ISKCON temple, that there is Radha Ras Bihari, and the Chowpatty temple is Radha Gopinath. So Radharani is constant, except in our temple in Chicago, Shishi Kishore Kishori. Both the names. So Krishna's name first, Radharani's name second. Kishore and Kishori, they're just entering youth. They're very beautiful. So Srila Prabhupada said the best for the last, because Krishna is the most attractive in his Kishore form, where he is adolescent. And that's Kishore Kishori. But otherwise, it's Radharani's name first, and there is a name of Krishna according to the time and place in the mood. Like London is Radha Landaneshwar, Paris Radha Pariseshwar, Kolkata we have Radha Govinda. Different places, different deities are named differently. Okay, cool. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Wish you a very happy Dasara and Shubha Vijaya to all of you. Take care. Have a good night.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.